This weekend's rugby has obviously been a wonderful. We've all been focusing on the wonderful exploits of Sasha Feinberg and Mngomezulu and the Springboks' wonderful win. But there's been a couple of questions about some of the decisions. And yeah, I don't say they're controversial. It's just, I think, from a law point of view, I've had a couple of questions. You've had a couple of questions in the comments about, and on my Twitter feed about the disallowed try of Evan Etzebeth. And then, of course, Cheslin Colby's what Russie called it a brain fart. His kickoff there in the dead ball line that resulted in a try for Chocobares from Argentina. So I thought just let's clear a couple of those things up. And I invited an old friend of the channel here, Tapa Henning, head of referees for URC. He's graciously said he'd come and chat to us a bit and just explain a bit about what exactly the ref saw and how we must look at that law. So Tapa, welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Brennan. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. It's always nice to chat, Brennan, and thanks for the work and the opportunities that you create to bring some knowledge to talking points that people have different opinions on, and just from a law perspective, just help a little bit to understand what is the expectation within rugby about it. So, Brennan, well done, and thank you so much for the opportunity. And I always feel welcome. So thanks for welcoming me again.
Thanks, man. But yeah, I mean, I think from my point of view, it doesn't help to the games in the past. Now we've got to look forward anyway. But it's good to know that if we can help educate people and help them with rugby knowledge, it's always good. So let's start with Evans' disallowed try. The try was scored. Then we saw replays of an Argentinian player kicking the ball out of Kobus Reinach's hand. You and I had a brief chat off record yesterday about this, and you were going to chat to World Rugby, etc. But there's two laws, as you said it to me there yesterday. That's the problem. One is obviously the knock-on law that the ball can't go forward with the hands, which obviously did from Kobus's when it was kicked out of his hands. But you can also not kick a ball out of a player's hands, which is a cynical act, an illegal act on the rugby field. The question was, I think, from a lot of people on my Twitter feed and in the comments was, why didn't the try stand? So maybe let's start there. Maybe you can tell us what you guys have discussed at referee level.
Yeah, Brendan, thank you so much. This is unique and it's very interesting. It doesn't happen. I've not seen this before. And the game that is what our game is all about. The laws try to cover most of incidents, whether it's legal, whether it's not. In this case, you're right. There's two laws that needs to be considered. The first one is the illegal act of kicking the ball from a player's position. You're not allowed to do that. That's foul play, and it is a penalty. The second part of that incident is what happens to the ball after the Argentina players dislodge the ball from the hands of Kobus Reinach. And that's the second part of the law where the ball did go forward from his hand. And the question that we now have and what we ask ourselves is, do we play advantage? Is that reckoned as a knock-on because it was illegally dislodged by a kick after he's lifted the ball and he's clearly in possession? Or is that a first infringement is the kick of the ball out of the hand, and the second infringement is a knock-on, so we cannot play on. We will have to go back to the first infringement. And that was the process and the decision of the referee on the day as I followed it and as it was explained. Yes, it is illegal to kick the ball. Secondly, yes, it is a knock-on if the ball goes out of the hand forward. The law makes provision for a circumstance where an opposition player rips the ball from the possession of a player that's carrying the ball. And if the ball then goes from that player that's carrying the ball, if the ball goes forward when it's ripped by an opposition player, it's not deemed to be a knock-on or lose of possession forward. Play continues. And the law is very specific around that. Now, if that's the intention of the law, when the ball is ripped from the possession from someone, I would be amazed and I would go down the route of the similar principle should apply when a player kicks the ball from the possession of a player who's carrying the ball or who's just lifted the ball, like we've seen with Kobus. And if that same principle applies, it should be there's not a knock-on. And advantage should apply. And in that case, they did play on. Yes, the green team played and the Springboks played, and Etzebeth was over the line and scoring of the try, so the try should stand. As we sit at the moment, Brendan, unfortunately, that incident specifically is not covered in law or in rulings or clarifications as it stands at the moment. Yeah. Yeah, Brendan, so there's two laws to consider. The one is the illegal kick of the ball out of the hand, and we all know that's a penalty kick. So once a player has lifted the ball like Cobus, that you cannot kick the ball out of its position. The second part of that is what happens to the ball. So the ball went forward from Cobus's hand, and according to the law as it stands at the moment, that is a knock-on. So when there's two infringement, we can't play on. You have to then go to the first infringement. So the Argentina player is infringed, and then the ball was knocked on, which is an error by law, and you cannot play on from that. There's a specific law that covers the scenario where a player rips the ball from another player's possession, and the ball goes forward from that player's possession, which is then, according to law, a knock-on. But this exception in the law, that the law specifically makes provision for, is that it's not a knock-on, it's not deemed to be a knock-on if the player rips the ball from your position. My thinking around this situation with Cobus is that if that's the principle and the intention of that law of rip, that player is not responsible for losing the ball. It was ripped by an opposition player. The same principle just makes sense if we apply it in that scenario as well. Although currently the law doesn't give us that option. Mm. So on Saturday, what I observed when the referee made the decisions, they went through both laws. And as it stands at the moment, because there's no specific law about when the ball is kicked out of the hand and it goes forward, that it's a knock-on or not a knock-on, they applied the laws as it stands currently. My thinking around this is if we understand the principle and the intention of the law when it's ripped, that same principle and intention of law should be applied when the ball is illegally kicked from somebody's possession. So that's where we are at the moment with that, Brendan. So where do I go as a URC head of match officials? What do I tell my referees if that happens on Saturday? I would go down the route to say that, guys, the ball has been dislodged with a kick, which is not a knock-on or loss of possession by the player, but it's been dislodged by a kick. And if the opportunity is there to play advantage or come back. And if there's no advantage, then come back and deal with the foul play where the ball was kicked out of position. And if that's the interpretation and if that's acceptable, we will find out from World Rugby through a ruling or a clarification, then so be it. If it changes, then it will be different. If it is like that interpreted, Eben Etzebeth try is a legitimate try. But we cannot fault match officials for the process that they went through. It is unfortunate that the law book, it's not possible to write a law book that will cover all scenarios in a game. And then sometimes you need to apply what the intention of the law is, what the principle of the law is. But then we also need to clear it with World Rugby if there's agreement on that interpretation and application. And that's where we are with this case, Brendan.
I just want to also say that, I mean, this is definitely not a go at Angus or anything. I mean, the refs only have, as you say, those two laws, and this hasn't happened before. And rugby often does that. We see it, that there's often a scenario that nobody's thought of that comes up, and then you sort of alter the decision afterwards. Tapa, just on this, I just maybe you just also, you started there. You guys, obviously, with this case like this, you go to World Rugby, you guys talk amongst yourselves, amongst the referee bosses, and then you get the clarification, and that gets given not only to the referees but also to the rugby teams, not only those involved, but I'm sure World Rugby sends it out to all its members so that if it does come up again, am I right in understanding that's how the process of this would work?
Yes, Brendan, the question is not about individual opinion. I think what people need to understand is it's the effort for consistency across the game, and secondly, it is about the fairness and to inform people what it is, and inform teams so that there's an expectation of teams what the decision should be, and the expectation is of fairness, and that's how it goes about when World Rugby informs all. Say, look, we have this situation. It's not clear in law. This is our ruling, or this is our clarification for the situation. Shared with everyone, goes down to all levels of the game, so that we are all informed about the expectation, and then we have some sort of consistency in the message, and then the consistency in application. It's always a big challenge.
Yeah. Tapa, just then one other one I think we've confused a lot of people about. I think those of us who know the law of the goal line dropout know that what Cheslin Colby did and what Rossi called a brain fart was precisely that. We all saw Cheslin sort of drop goal the ball, and it went over the try line back into the field of play. Chocobares picked it up and scored. I don't think the TV cameras captured it precisely. I've seen the replay on TV, but from sitting at the field, we saw that happen. And my understanding of it, and maybe you can just come in and clarify as well, is that you can, if he was intention to send it back to Sasha or one of the other players in his team, he could have done anything else. He could have kicked it with his knee. He could have punted it directly. He could have thrown the ball, done an American football pass, whatever. But the moment that it was a drop kick, it changed everything. And the moment it crossed the try line back into the field of play, it became the goal line dropout technically. And I think a lot of people didn't understand it. And I got a lot of questions about, but when players offside and when his players were still running back and all that sort of thing. Maybe you can just clarify what the law says there.
Yeah, Brendan, I was surprised and what happened here, and a classy player like Cheslin, and wow, did he mean it? Was it that his intention? And did he want to restart, or did he just wanted to pass the ball? But as you rightly said, Brendan, once if he's done what he's done, that is regarded as a drop kick. It crossed the goal line, so that then becomes a goal line dropout, and a legitimate goal line dropout. And then because the ball didn't reach what we call the sanction line, which is the 5 meter line, under the goal line dropout, that ball must reach that line. So yes, it was a drop kick. The ball was dropped to the floor and then it was kicked. Yes, the ball crossed the goal line, so that's a goal line dropout. The ball must reach the sanction line before it can be played. But if it does not reach the sanction line, advantage can apply, so the opposition can gain an advantage from it.
Similar to a kickoff, basically.
Yeah.
Similar to a kickoff.
Yes. So it is a goal line dropout, what Cheslin did. And it's interpreted like that because it was a drop kick that crossed the goal line. The ball did not reach the sanction line. The sanction line is twofold. The sanction line, that's the 5 meter line from the goal line. And the sanction line means the ball must reach that line for green to continue to play. So a player that takes goal line dropout can't kick it to a teammate. The ball's got to reach the sanction line, which is the 5 meter line. If the ball does not reach that line, then advantage applies. And the advantage is for the opposition team because the goal line dropout didn't reach that line. Then advantage can be applied for the opposition team, which is Argentina in this case. Argentina players must be behind the Argentina players that wants to play and can legitimately play a goal line dropout must be behind the sanction line, which is the 5 meter line. At the time when the goal line dropout is taken, and if you look at the wider camera and picture, when Cheslin drop kicked the ball, the player was approaching and moving forward. And then the ball didn't reach the 5 meter line. He then crossed the 5 meter line, picked up the ball and grounded it. So the try stands. Just on the bit where there were still South African players in front of Cheslin. The same scenario as with the quick tap kick at a penalty kick. Players that's in front must keep on retiring until they're onside. So it doesn't nullify the quick tap. It's the same with the 22 dropout. Players that's in front of a 22 meter dropout that's retiring must keep on retiring until they're being put onside by a teammate running past them. They can turn around and play. At a goal line dropout, it's the same. Players who are in front from the team that needs to take the dropout, they must keep on retiring until a player puts them onside And that means the player who either drop kick or anyone behind him runs past them, they can turn around, they can then continue to play. So everything that happened in that scenario, when Cheslin drop kicked, is okay by law, and it resulted in a try for Argentina, and which was the correct decision.
Okay.
So there was Argentina player warming up in the in goal as well, which wasn't part of play. He was on the far side. He wasn't even part of the immediate play around or close to the ball. There's lots of things that one can query and say, but the law doesn't allow them to be in goal when play is happening. Why is he warming up when that happens? That has got nothing to do with this specific scenario. And it's unfortunate that happened. I think when we looked at the expression on Cheslin's face, he probably looked like, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it. I understand what I did, but I didn't mean to do a drop. I just wanted Sasha to get the ball. But unfortunately, the facts of play at that stage is supported by law and to let play continue, and Argentina scoring a legitimate try.
Yeah, and just to take that argument just a little bit further, by contrast, if Cheslin had meant to do that, and the South African player was behind the goal line, behind him, because that would be the first thing that would need to happen. He couldn't be in front of him. And that player, say, had to run from behind the goal line and collect that, and it made the 5 meters, the Springboks would be able to attack as well.
Absolutely, because then it's reached the sanction line, which is the 5 meter line. A player who's onside has then played the ball, then South Africa can play.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's an interesting one, because maybe it could be, we could see that again. Maybe who knows? But it's we see strange things from the Springbok team, and they're always innovating. So that's always good to see. Tapa, that's all I really wanted to ask you about. Thanks for your time. I know we will have you on the URC roundtable a bit later, which I'll also post the video a bit later. But for all those watching, thank you for joining us, and please hit the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up, and leave your comments. And I'm sure if there's anything relevant, I'll ask Tapa again, and we'll ask him to come back on during the URC as well, if there's some clarification we need. But Tapa, thank you very much again for coming on like this. Really appreciate it.
Brendan, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for everyone who spends time to watch this. We really appreciate it. And if there's questions, guys, fire away. We help as much as we can. We can't change the law. We can't change the game. We can influence. And it's important for us that there's understanding of the effort of fairness that we as match officials put in when games are running. So thank you, Brendan, and all of the best to everyone.
Thanks, Tapa. Yeah.